All right. Well, welcome to the most recent episode of the Enrollment Clinic. This is going to be a very fun episode. I have here a very special guest. He's a very good friend of mine, a longtime collaborator, and somebody I go to all the time for the topic that he's an expert in. So I have here Granit Doshlaku from Manafera, which is, I think, one of the best search marketing agencies out there. And although I'm biased, I think it's a true thing. And I'm going to ask him, or actually, he can talk more about all the awards that they have been winning. Congratulations, by the way, on the most recent ones. So, Granit,
Thank you.
welcome
Thank
to
you.
the Enrollment Clinic.
Hey, Jerzy, thank you. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure talking to you.
All right. So, we can talk for hours about this topic, and I know you and I have talked for hours about this topic, but our goal here today is to kind of demystify what search marketing is, especially for education, in about 20 minutes of time, right? So it's a very
Yep,
tough job, that I'm putting you under, but I think you're the best person to do this. So first and
we can do
foremost,
it.
let's talk a little bit about search marketing. Tell me a little bit of what that means.
Well, in a nutshell, it means building visibility through paid or organic efforts at the search results. When we talk about search marketing, we need to talk about search engines, and by that we mean we need to talk about Google, who's the biggest player by
Mm,
far.
mm,
And search marketing is getting out there in front of people who are searching for services, products that you are offering. If you're not there where people are searching, you are not going to be seen. People are not going to click on your website. They're not going to come and convert. So search marketing is basically uh, any activity that you do to build your visibility, to get in front of people who are searching for your products or services through paid or organic means.
mm. So, when you think of search marketing, right? Why do you think it's important for, education, specifically, higher education? It could be even high schools,
Yep.
in education in general.
I do think it's very important, and there are data that proves it. Like there are hundreds of touch points that the student goes through before they decide where they are going to study, and I think it was over 65 or 70% of the students kind of mentioned that online searching is like one of the ways that they get informed, and it helps them with their decisions. So that's basically talks about the importance of being present in the search results, because you have students who are in high school who are thinking about college, and they have questions. They have questions about the programs, their specific interests, the careers that they could be interested in, or the salaries, or like this university versus that meaning any question that they have, they're going to Google it.
Mm,
And as an institution, as a higher ed institution, you want to be there. And what happens most of the times, most of the institutions who are working uh, in their paid search marketing efforts, they are going after bottom of the funnel, meaning they are only appearing when people are searching for a program that they offer, and they're
mm.
ignoring all the rest. And the rest is the vast majority of searches that happen, all these questions, informations that they need. And that is why it's important to be there, because you want to initially identify what your target audience is searching for, and then make sure that you're building your visibility at every stage of their conversion journey.
Yeah, I think you're kind of touching upon on what was going to be my next question, which is what are some of the most common mistakes that you see organizations in higher education, universities specifically you work with, do, and definitely this one, just not focusing at every level of the funnel, but just kind of focusing
Yep.
to the kind of like purchase intent part, leaves out the entire period of time that
Yep.
it takes, to make a decision. I was reading some research actually by niche.com, which is like a big kind of like student enrollment website. It's kind of like Facebook for universities, but and what they had, which was pretty interesting, they had some research that if you are an undergraduate student, right, if you're trying to, if you're a high school student, it takes roughly about 2 years and 9 months from the moment that you decide you're going to go to school, you're going to go to a college, until the day you actually sit in class, right? So there's so many touch points, right, the students go to, and it's not necessarily what department, so how do you specifically, in the work that you do, how do you specifically kind of help these institutions, broaden their approach to enrollment?
So the biggest mistake that I see, either through paid ads or through their SEO campaigns, is that most of them, they don't understand search intent or user intent. Meaning, if someone is searching for computer science degree, what do they want? And another thing is, and especially because as an agency, we are more like focused and known for our SEO services and SEO offering, and we do a lot of work with higher ed in that area, is that everyone that wants to do SEO, like, they want to rank for the head terms. If they're offering a computer science degree, they want to rank for computer science degree or master's in computer science, etc. Meaning they are going to ignore 99% of all other keywords and target just this one. And then they are kind of they are demotivated when they don't see the results, which is, of course, it's going to happen because the real estate on the first page of Google allows you to have only 10 results, and you can't have 4,000 plus universities in the first page. But what the opportunity is that most of those universities are targeting just that keyword, and they are not going after the long tail. They are not going after questions around that program, and they are not creating content to address that. And while it's very competitive for someone to rank on the first page for computer science degree or MBA degree or whatever degree, it's achievable to rank for those topics, to target the same audience who's searching computer science degree, and actually even convert them better, because the more specific their queries are, the more specific their searches are, the higher their intent to convert is. So if you can go and identify these long tail keywords and questions, you have a better chance of ranking in the first page at the top results. And actually that traffic is going to be more qualified because it's going to convert much better as it's more specific. And your content that you created also addresses that.
Yeah. Let me ask you a quick question, because I we talk about Google all the time, right? But like I read some research recently. I think Unibody had a research recently out, basically saying that this is on Generation Z, which is that are now looking for college, right? That are now in high school and they're going to move on to college. And one of the interesting things that I read there was that roughly, and I think the number is 46%, but roughly 46% of Gen Z, college prospective students actually use Instagram and TikTok as their search engines. Does that it didn't make sense to me. Like, I mean, which shame on me, it should make sense, right? Because like I'm in the industry, but I was like, yes. And I have questions. I have questions, and I'll tell you why I have questions about that. Because at the end of the day, sure, they go to TikTok and they go to Instagram and they type, the university name or whatever it is that they're interested in, like, I don't know, Michigan State or something like that, right? And that's fine. But at the end of the day, I still think part of that journey has to go through Google, because 89% of all search is done there, right? So,
my thoughts of this are like, the first, it makes sense for them to search on TikTok or Instagram or any social platform that they are using the most, to get a feeling about the university that they are really interested in. But for them to get to that point, to get interested in that university, they have to go through this decision-making process, decision-making funnel. And they are not going to do that on TikTok. They're not going to find the questions on their,
Agreed. Agreed.
yeah, on their, like, all the questions on their preferred program subjects, career, potential careers, information about that. Like, all these questions are going to be made in Google, and once you're there, and like you kind of, you start by knowing what you want to study and then where you want to study. And once you've decided, then you may want to go read the Google reviews, check their Instagram and Facebook pages, look at TikTok on like social activities of their campuses, etc., etc. It makes sense in that regard. But like, our goal is, and where I think the search marketing, paid and organic, both of them are the most efficient, is convincing someone that you're the university that they should apply to.
Mm.
And you can do that by making sure that you're there, visible to them, on the questions that they have while they're trying to make up their mind on what they want to do next.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. And I know the answer to this, but so how do you do that? The second part of it, how do you move people through the decision funnel? Right. And
So
obviously, yeah, I want you to talk about content, but
it's basically the strategy is, when you kind of, when you start by mapping out the conversion funnel and knowing at each stage, and when for each stage you start to create specific content. Top of the funnel would be more informational content. Bottom of the funnel would be more like program pages and financing options, etc., etc. So
right.
content is very important to help them funnel down, and also how you connect that content inside your website. I think website user experience is another important factor that is not talked about, but that it is very kind of, it's an impression that the students get when they are visiting and consuming content uh, at your site. So connecting these, like creating content hubs,
Mm,
and for different subjects, different degrees, and internal linking, meaning like, the question is, a computer science degree worth it? Like computer science versus cybersecurity and career options, etc. All this content, when you're reading it, they mention the other content and they link back to it, and like, you basically, once they land on a page, through that you funnel them down to the other pages.
Speaking of content, I'm going to refer back to this research from Unibody. One of the things, in this survey of like, I think 1,200 students, Gen Z students, and how do they kind of make the decision, and what type of information they're looking for in content. One of the things that came out is that they're more interested in feelings versus facts. I wonder how, again, from a content perspective, you kind of balance how you approach writing an article, write a certain article to move students down the funnel. We have this like balance of content and feel, right?
Yeah. We work closely with the universities, and to define if they don't have already a content style guide. And in
Right.
there we define the tone and the voice, and how we are going to create the content, and
Yeah.
we make sure that that is consistent across the whole site. It's not just the blog content, it's not just the ebooks or like checklists. It's not, meaning we want to create something that it's consistent with their whole site, their whole brand. So in that stage we define all this, and then we make sure that we are executing it properly. But yeah, I agree. I think a more important factor here is also like how you write the content and how you structure it, because it's not, yes, it's about how it makes them feel, but it's also like how easily it is for the content to be consumed. We don't write research papers there that
Mm,
kind of, it bores them to death. We want to make sure that our content is attractive. It's something that they can share with their friends. It's something that other institutions will use and share with their audiences, and it's basically helpful and easily digestible. And those are also something that Google favors as well. And then this allows the content that we create to rank very well. A fun fact is, the most important keywords that I mentioned earlier that people target, like computer science degree or MBA degree, If you go on Google right now, you'll see like 40 to 50% all the search results for those queries are not program pages from specific universities, are blog posts from specific universities, because Google has determined that people are more interested into informing themselves. They are using search to inform themselves, to educate themselves, and not specifically to search for a program and then go to a program page and convert there. Yes, there are some, and that's why Google is always kind of playing with the search intent and seeing what people want. But blog content is a must for universities these days to build their visibility in the search results, to increase their rankings, to increase their traffic, and with that comes leads, comes applications, and students that enroll.
This leads me to my next question. I think it's an important question, specifically coming from somebody from my side, right? Like when you're leading a marketing team, an admissions team, and as you know, COVID did a number on budgets. So let's talk about budgeting, right? Like how do you best budget to work with a marketing agency or a search marketing agency? And I'm going to ask you a very kind of long question, but I want to frame it. So one of the issues that we're facing with, right, is the way when you're working, let's say, with an agent, right, like an international recruitment agent or an international enrollment agency, you kind of know what you get because they get a commission based on per student or the number of students or however that contract is written, right? But you got 100 students, this is how much it costs. But when you're working with a marketing agency, you kind of don't know that. It's something that you find out whether they're doing a good job or not 3 months later or a year later, or so. So, and again, it's not mutually exclusive, right? Like you don't
Yep.
have to pick one versus the other. Obviously, every university uses every tool in their repertoire. But so, what's the best way to budget to work with a marketing agency?
So when you mention about the recruitment agencies, like one thing that you get through something like search marketing is scale. And I'm not saying that a recruiter or a recruitment agency or agents are not going to be able to scale, but it's going to be very difficult. It's easier to start, but if you want to hit to increase your numbers big time, that's going to be a challenging process. On the other end, search marketing is very good at this. It's very good at scale, especially the pay-per-click, and it's very good at sustainability, especially the SEO. And since we are doing mostly SEO nowadays, I'm going to talk a bit about that. And I'm going to illustrate with one example. We worked with a client and actually won awards with the work that we did for them for more than 2 years. And for a specific reason, they had to pause the work for 9 months, and then we resumed that. During those 9 months, all the traffic, like we went from 7,000 sessions from Google to up to 60,000 sessions from Google per month in 2 years. What happened is their traffic didn't decline. Their traffic actually grew for another 20%. And this is the sustainability part of SEO. And what you have to keep in mind is that you're not just paying for the student. The student is the end product and what we're trying to achieve ultimately. But what you're paying is for all the work that we do in identifying the right keywords, creating the content. This is assets. This is something that you're investing and stays with you, stays in your website, and it's consumed and can be used from all different marketing channels, social media, email, your students, etc., etc. Website user experience, page speed improvements. This falls into SEO, but everyone benefits from that. So when you're investing in SEO, you're investing in something that makes your overall digital experience better, and that in return makes the site perform better in search results, and you get traffic and you earn the traffic and you earn that visibility, those keyword rankings in Google, and they don't just disappear if you, let's say, stop one day to do SEO or like basically for some specific reason. They are way more sustainable. Of course, if you're not going to do SEO for 2-3 years, the rest are going to do, and they're going to beat you and you are going to start losing traffic and rankings. But your investment is way more long term, it's more sustainable, and also because of the way that you are not selling yourself to the students directly, but they are searching and finding you, the conversion rate is going to be higher. What we've seen is after direct traffic, organic search, SEO, has the highest lead to application rate. And we were just reviewing some data. Traffic from search had like the people who started the applying process, 49% of them finished it, meaning half of them finished it. The abandonment rate was 51%, meaning half of the people stopped, but half of the people went through and finished their application. On the other end, we were looking at the data for social media. 91% of the people who came from social media and clicked apply now, they abandoned the process, meaning they didn't go through. So 1 in 10 students went through and finished their application process. And this kind of tells you about the quality of the traffic that comes from SEO, and why as an investment is a sound one.
Yeah, it's interesting because, I see a lot of institutions, jumping into social media right now. And then the question is, well, are you advertising on TikTok? Are you advertising on Facebook? Why aren't we on Instagram? And that's where the students are. But I think, the statistic that you just quoted is very, very important because, at the end of the day, and we talked about this early on in the podcast, where decision-based searches are made in Google, right? So you're going to get more completion over there. No, this has been a very, very interesting topic, and again, we can talk about this all day. But I have one last question. I feel like whenever I talk to different people from different universities, that when they choose an agency to work with, they want one who's really like close geographically, right? Like I want somebody who's like 10 steps away from my door, so I can yell at them if they're not doing a good job. Tell me why that shouldn't be the case.
I mean, you mentioned pandemic has changed everything, and it did a number here as well, meaning universities are not necessarily looking for someone who can meet with them weekly or monthly. Ideally, the smart people of those universities now are choosing the ones who can deliver results. We are based in Kosovo, which is Southeastern Europe, but most of our clients are based in the US, and we won awards most recently at the US Search Award, won the best campaign for using SEO for higher education. We won campaigns on European Search Awards as well, meaning as an agency, we're based in Europe. We have been working with US clients for over 5 years now, and yes, definitely pandemic has changed people's perspectives on this, and I don't think that they are looking at this very, like, they're not putting too much mind on this. They are looking mostly if the agency can deliver. And if you can, and you have the case studies to prove, then I think that settles it.
No, that's definitely very important. Again, you're right. The industry I think IT in general has changed, right? Like, what is it, Facebook or Twitter? Everybody works from home now, wherever home is. It could be anywhere. It could be a beach somewhere in Hawaii, right? And nowadays with Zooms and things like that, it's like everybody can specifically for these types of positions, you don't necessarily need to be in a certain office to get some of the work done. Okay, well, Granit, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. And again, I'm sure we're going to do this again to dive into something deeper because I think it's really important. Maybe we can do something later on to dive into content.
For sure.
I think that's huge. But thank you so much. And
thank you as well. It was a pleasure. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Bye.